Hello and welcome to Rotted Review of the Day, and today we are continuing the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise with Initiation, Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, made in 1990. Now, what we have here is a non-franchise franchise movie, and for those of you that aren't aware of how this works, we saw a lot of this with the second half of Hellraiser movies. What will happen is you will have a horror film that has nothing to do with Hellraiser or Silent Night, Deadly Night, or any other franchise out there. It's a standalone, low-budget horror film, and it'll be written, it'll be, they'll have a director attached. Maybe a lot of it will even be shot and edited and ready to rock. But it's not the quality that anybody will have the confidence in distributing or producing further along in the process. Not as it stands, not as it stands as the Bug horror movie, part one. But we already own the rights to the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise, or we already own the rights to Hellraiser. And although it wouldn't work on this level, maybe if we add the Cenobites, maybe if we add a Killer Santa, well, now maybe we have a movie. So they incorporate it into the franchise late in the game, shoehorn in something to tie it together, and then release it as Silent Night, Deadly Night 4. And that's ultimately what we wound up getting here. This had nothing to do with Billy, Ricky, Killer Santa, or anything of the like. This happened to have the backdrop setting of being around Christmas time. That's about as Christmassy as this one gets, unfortunately. Honestly, to be perfectly, absolutely 100% honest, I would not have included it in my advent calendar of Christmas horror movies at all if it had not been an entry into this franchise and if I had not been committed to finishing this franchise off. But regardless, it is, and I am. So let's get into the details by getting into the categories. As always, 4 different categories, each one worth up to 25 points for a total possible score of 100 points. The plot of this one, I gave a 1 out of 25. This was, well, the storyline, it really doesn't matter. It followed a reporter who had heard about a woman falling off of a building, spontaneously combusting. And I say reporter, but she's really not. She works the classifieds of a newspaper, but she wants to be a reporter. She wants to be an investigative journalist, and she figures this might be her big break-in. And in the investigation starts going down a rabbit hole of witches and bugs, and, bugs the size of a truck, and killer Clint Howard, and being incorporated into the witches' coven and used by them and tricked by them and so on. And it was a muddled mess that was boring. It was gross. It was dismal, and it lacked any sense of coherency or interest. This was an absolute mess. There's really no other way to put it. Nothing about the plot was very interesting. Nothing about the character motivation made any sense whatsoever. There was nothing realistic that was taking her from point A to B to C to D. It just seemed like, well, we need the plot to go here, so we're going to force the character to go here. We need her to be, integrated into the witches' coven, so we're going to send her to the bookstore to investigate spontaneous combustion, and that happens to be owned by the witches' coven. It was nonsensical, and nothing about it really flowed at all. The plot was just terrible. The intent, I gave a 0. Like the third entry in the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise, this wasn't scary. It wasn't shocking. It wasn't interesting. It wasn't fun or funny. And more than any other, I would say that this one suffered from the worst sin that a movie can commit, and that it was boring. I was bored to tears watching this. And that's not to say that nothing was happening on the screen. I just was so... it had me caring so little that I was basically just watching moving pictures at that point. I wasn't invested in any character, invested in any story. I wasn't even having the fun of watching interesting kills because there were none. So, Yeah, I couldn't give it any points for the intent. I just thought that whatever it was going for, it failed. Acting, poor performances overall. I mean, Clint Howard had some fun with this one. You can kind of tell he had a sparkle in his eye as he was holding up, giant maggots and that kind of thing. Hats off to him for that, but it doesn't make a good performance or acting that will sell a movie. So 5 out of 25 there. Technical, I gave a 7 out of 25. The actual bug effects, they were kind of going for a very David Cronenberg Naked Lunch-esque kind of feel to it. And I would say that they succeeded on what you might expect from a fairly micro budget level. Definitely not of the same caliber as David Cronenberg or John Carpenter. But, what can you do? I respect the attempt, and I thought that they actually pulled that off better than I was expecting for the quality of the rest of the movie surrounding it. But other than that, the technical really suffered in every other way. Just terrible picture, sound, editing, the whole schmeal was just, ugh. So yeah, 7 out of 25 there, which gives us a total score of 13. And I guess the best way that I can really sum this one up is, for the first time ever that I have tackled a franchise, and I've done 2 before. I did the Puppet Master franchise, and then I did the Phantasm franchise, and both of those got pretty bad at certain points. But this is the first time that I can recall where I was talking with my friends, and they asked me what I thought, and I had to tell the truth. I said that for the first time ever, I regretted starting the franchise. That's how it made me feel. I would say the second, third, and fourth one so far. I liked the first one, but those 3 really made me regret even starting this, which is telling in and of itself. It's not often I get to that point. I have one more movie to go, and I'm really not terribly much looking forward to it. I really doubt at this point that the franchise can pull itself out of the ditch that it's dug. We'll see. Maybe. In any case, I'm looking forward to it being over and being done with the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise. But that should about do it for the 4th review here, 1990s, Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation. Thank you for joining me here today. Please pass this movie by. And remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.